So we are looking at 92. Okay, so as I look at Unit 3, there are actually two Unit 3s that we're going to put together into one. They're technically two separate units, but whatever, we're going to put them into one. Okay, so we are looking at other types of equations. You are probably going to need extra pages for this section. There's a few different things we're going to go over, but we're just going to kind of split it up. So we are starting with Unit 3. This first, we're looking at other types of equations in this section. So basically what we're looking at is we are looking at different types of equations. So we're going to kind of split it up into different, this page will have a couple of different lessons through it. So you probably won't be able to fit them all on this page. You'll probably need an extra sheet, but we'll get to that tomorrow. Okay, so what we're going to look at first is we are going to look at the first type of equation we're going to look at is rational equations. Okay, remember rational just means we are dealing with fractions. So I'm going to deal with fractions like we did. We did adding, we did multiplying, we did subtracting, we did getting common denominators last week. Today we're going to take it one step further and say, okay, what if I have an equation? You're going to do it the same sort of way. So what you're going to do first is you are going to factor the denominators. Okay, it's going to be the same process as adding and subtracting like we did, where you factor the denominator and then kind of saw what parts kind of go together. So we are going to factor my denominators.
What if you change it to decimal to the power?
No, I mean these are expressions. It's not like 5 over 2. Okay, thank you. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is factor the denominator. The second thing is you're going to find your common denominator. And we talked about how to do that last week. That common denominator, you're looking at kind of including every part that's in the denominator. It's kind of hard for me to explain. You just kind of have to pick up on it. So you're going to find common denominator. Okay. Once you find the common denominator, you're going to multiply each fraction in order to get the common denominator. This is all review. You look at a fraction and say, okay, this part was missing from the denominator, so I multiply the top and bottom by this. Okay. Here's the difference. Once you get common denominators with equations, the denominators cancel. So you can cancel out the common denominator. And this will make more sense. So the big difference with equations, rational equations, is once you get common denominators, the denominators can cancel. And then you're going to solve like normal. Okay? Once you kind of cancel out the denominators, you're going to solve the equation like we did on the warm-up. So kind of this part, it's kind of all the same except for the canceling out the denominator part. Okay.
So once you cancel out the denominator, it turns into like a regular thing.
Yes. Okay, that's why we've practiced on the warm-up. So let's look at a couple examples. Let's look at one like, we'll do an easier one. Let's look at one like this. 5 over 6k squared minus 1 over 3k equals 1 over 6k. This is a rational equation because I see fractions and I see an equal sign. So you're going to do it, I'm subtracting these two on the left. So you're going to have to get common denominators in order to subtract them, and like we did last week. You're going to do the same thing. The only difference is I'm now dealing with 3 denominators instead of 2. So what we're going to look at is we're going to, first of all, factor These are all monomials, so you can't factor. So we're going to find the common denominator. I think it's helpful if you put it to the side. Some of you guys don't necessarily have to do that. However, it's easy to lose track of things if you don't have it written down. So I want to look at my common denominator and figure out. So let's look at all my denominators. Look at your coefficient first. 6, 3, and 6. What is the lowest thing that 6, 3, and 6 will go into? 6. And then I want to know my variable. I need to include the k's. So that's going to be k squared. This has k squared, so I have to, my common denominator has to be k squared in it too, because I have to include both of those k's. So my common denominator is 6k squared. The next part, this is exactly like we did last week. You're going to go through each fraction and see what's missing from the denominator. First fraction, 6k squared. I have a denominator, 6k squared. What do I need to multiply the top and bottom by? Nothing, because it's already 6k squared, so it's just a 5. The second...
Is it just a 5 because you're already canceling out?
No, I'm going to write it. So if you want to write the denominator, I'm going to put these two together on the left, the two fractions together on the left, kind of together here as we work through them. My second fraction, what do I need to multiply top and bottom by? 2k. I need to multiply 2 to get the 6 and k to get the k squared. So on top, I'm going to have minus 2k. Because it's a negative 1 times 2k, so negative 2k. Equal sign, you look at your fraction over here. What do I need to multiply this top and bottom by to get 6k squared? K. That will leave me with,
1k.
yeah, or just k over 6k squared. So I want to see you get common denominators first, and then you can cancel them out. I don't want you to try to cancel them and keep track. Write your common denominators, and then you can cancel. Now that I have an equation with common denominators, your denominators cancel. The reason they cancel is you could just multiply both sides by the 6k squared, and they would cancel out. So your denominators cancel, so you have 5 minus 2k equals k, and now you just have a straightforward equation.
5 minus 3k.
No? We want to get k alone, so I need to combine my k's together. So I'm going to add 2k.
Wait, you want a 0, right?
No, we don't want to get a 0. This isn't quadratic. These are normal. These aren't going to be quadratic. So you just want to get k's to one side and your number on the other side.
3k.
Yep, so 5 equals 3k. Then how do I solve for k? Divide by 3. So k is 5/3. So we're kind of combining what we did last week with solving normal equations. That's why we practice those on the warm-up.
Are a lot of them on the homework going to be come out like that?
I believe none of them will come out quadratic. They will all come out to be nice equations like this. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes, you will get one answer. I'm pretty sure I tried to be intentional about picking ones.
What?
Yes,
Where did 3 come from?
because you did k plus 2k, so 3k.
Right,
1k.
no, the 3 in the denominator.
Where in the denominator?
The one, the k, there's an imaginary 1 in front of it at all times.
Right, yeah.
So if you add 2k to that k, it'll be 3k.
But why is it in the denominator and not?
Did you divide by
Because I divide by 3.
Divide by 3. 5's not divisible by 3.
It's a fraction.
You just leave it 5/3. Could also get a decimal. I don't really care, but
So we can put it as a decimal?
yes, you don't need to. But
You have to get the.
you have to get k alone.
Yeah, but okay.
So 3. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3.
You started with the 5 minus 2k over 6k squared. The denominator cancels the exact same.
But I thought you did all that to get it out of the fraction.
It just this has just happened to be what k is. It just happened to be a fraction. Usually, probably sometimes you'll get a fraction. It just depends. But okay. Also, what you need to do is going to ask you to do this on your homework. It's going to ask for the extraneous solution. So on your homework, it's going to ask for remember to check for the extraneous solution or whatever. Okay, that's a fancy word. Basically meaning what's their excluded value. What k value cannot work. We've talked about this before. So as I look at my original, I cannot have 0 in the denominator. So what k value if I look, will give me 0 in the denominator. If I look at my original denominators, what value of k if I multiply by 3, or what value of k if I multiply by 6 will give me a 0 in the denominator?
0.
0. So my extraneous solution would be k cannot be 0. So you just need to check to make sure that the answer you got for k is not an extraneous solution, which means it will give you 0 on the bottom. So k cannot be 0. My k value is 5/3, so you're good. So just check to make sure that the k value you get isn't going to give you 0 in the denominator, in the original.
With that,
You don't have to, I'm just kind of explaining that to make sure you check for that. Usually it won't be an issue, but just something. It'll say that. It says it on the homework, so I just wanted to touch on that. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at one like... let's look at this one. Okay. 1 over m squared plus 5m minus 6 plus 1 over m minus 1 equals 3 over m plus 6. This is a rational fractions, rational equation because of the equal sign. So you do it the same way, except when you get common denominators, your denominator cancel. Okay, factor all your denominators first. So the only denominator that will factor is what? Yep. What will m squared plus 5m minus 6 factor to? Yep, and m minus 1. So factor first, because that helps you see the parts of your common denominator. I kind of want you to write the common denominator out to the side because it helps you keep track. So common denominator has to include all the parts of my denominators, which are going to be m plus 6 and the m minus 1 part. So just like with adding, subtracting last week, you're going to go through each fraction and see what part is missing in the denominator. If I look at my very far left fraction, what part is missing? Nothing, because I already have both of them in the denominator. So it's just going to be 1 over m plus 6 times n minus 1. I'm going to go ahead and combine it into one fraction on the left side, just because it's a little less work. The second fraction in the middle, what do I need to multiply the top and bottom by? n plus 6. So I take the top times n plus 6, the bottom times n plus 6. The bottom will give me the denominator, which I have. The top will give me 1 times n plus 6, just n plus 6, equal to my fraction on the right. I have an n plus 6 in the denominator, so I need to multiply top and bottom by n minus 1. Same process as last week, except we are dealing with equations today. So now I'm going to have my denominator on the bottom, n plus 6 times n minus 1, over, or underneath, the top will be, no, distribute the 3. 3n minus 3, yep. So again, same exact idea. Now one step further, because it's an equation, my denominators are the same, so you can cancel out the denominator, and you're just left with your numerator part. 1 plus m plus 6 equals 3m minus 3. Left side will simplify to n plus 7. Right side is 3m minus 3. And you solve this equation like we did on the warm-up. What do I do first to solve this? What is it? You have a couple options. Okay, you can subtract the m. So if I subtract the m, that means I'm getting the m's on the right side. So I need to move my constants over. So I would add the 3. You can do it all in one step if you want to. I don't care. So that'll leave me with 10 equals 2m divide by 2, 5 equals m. So kind of sort of the same as last week, except we're adding the equation part to it. Okay, one second. Let's do one more. We don't have time. What time do we get out here? 10 after? 2:05. Okay. Yeah, we'll do one more. Let's do one more. I'm going to need a piece of paper already. Let me grab a piece of paper. Okay, one more example. I'll either let you finish the test if you need to finish the test, or start working on this homework. Okay. So example 3, let's look at one like this. Example 3. Okay, so we have 15b minus 18 over 2b squared minus 9b minus 5 minus 6 over 2b squared minus 9b minus 5 equals 6 over 2b plus 1. Okay. Rational, this is the minus here, rational equation. First thing I need to do is what? Do what?
You need to get your common denominator.
Well, we can't. Well, what do we?
Gotta factor it.
We can factor first. We can also do what first? What do you notice on the left side?
There's a B on top.
Keep looking. Keep looking on the left side.
It's the same as. Yeah.
So on the left side, I'm subtracting two fractions. What do you notice about the two fractions I'm subtracting? They already have common denominator. So what you can actually do first is you can combine the left side into a single fraction because they already have the same denominator. So we can go ahead and do that. If I combine the left side, what would I make my numerator?
18 minus 24.
Yep. So negative 18 minus 6 minus 24. I can combine the numerator because I happen to have the common denominators already. 2b squared minus 9b minus 5 equals 6 over 2b plus 1. So we actually can combine the left side because they already have common denominators. But now as I'm looking at my fraction, I still have the denominator there. I haven't been able to take the top part and set them equal and solve. So we're still going to have to factor and get a common denominator. So my left side, I have 2b squared minus 9b minus 5. I need to factor that. How do I factor that?
Well, and B and B.
Do you really have to factor it, or do you just?
You do, because you cannot cancel out the denominators till they're the same.
Oh, can't you just add b squared minus 9b? Well, multiply b squared minus b minus 9b.
You could, but you're going to have an extra thing there. It's going to make it complicated.
You take out the B's.
How do I factor? It's a trinomial with the 2 in front.
You take out the B's.
No, negative 5 does not have a b.
No. Oh, so you take out a 1.
How do I factor with the trinomial with the number in front? We know how to do this. We did this last week. We've done it before.
Take 2 out.
Cannot take 2 out. There's no GCF. Huh?
Well, you got narrow with 2.
Because we're gonna have to do some work to factor it. Trinomial with the 2 in front.
Same thing as trinomial with 1.
It's not the same thing. Not at all. Huh?
Did you teach us that?
Absolutely. You've seen it a lot. We did it last week. I need to factor something. Trinomial with the number in front. What do I do first? This is why I'm reviewing this, because there's on the homework like it.
Don't you do the parentheses with the B?
We will eventually, but we can't yet. Can't split it up because there's not a 1 in front, so I can't use the shortcut. Well, look at your notes because this is something I expect you guys to know, so I'm not going to explain.
When did we do it?
Well, it's factoring a trinomial with the 2 and with a number in front. We did it last week. We reviewed.
We did it last week.
No, we did it when we did factoring originally, but we also reviewed it last week.
On the review.
No, there was a couple on the homework packet. We did it a couple in the notes. Andrea, stay with me, please. Come on, stay with me. Okay, factoring a trinomial with a number in front. You guys know this. Look back at your notes.
We'll get it. We'll do that.
I'm not.
I'm gonna go way back.
We will eventually, but I cannot split it up yet. I can't write my parentheses yet because I have the 2 in front.
What unit was that? You know?
Factoring, I don't know which one it was off the top of my head. We also did it on page...
Factoring trinomials,
yes.
part 2.
Probably, yes.
Multiply first and last number.
Yes. So multiply first and last,
Combine two numbers.
which will give me, let's do it step by step. When I multiply first and last, that will give me what? Give me negative 10. I need to find two numbers that multiply to give me negative 10 and add to give me negative 9.
10 and 1.
So two numbers that multiply to give me negative 10 and add to give me
And negative 1.
negative 10 and 1. Okay. So what do I do with those two numbers when I find those two numbers? No. Back to your notes. Yes, I know. I'm also feeling frustrated too. This is stuff we've done before. I'm just saying.
Don't get all flustered.
I'm just saying.
We're figuring it out.
Well, you are.
No. So,
What do I do with negative 10 and 1?
really? I just had that page.
So other people can be looking through your note. He doesn't need to be the only one.
Find two numbers that okay, we got that. Replace the middle number with
Okay, so what will this look like when I replace the middle number?
negative 1.
Hmm?
Is it?
Would it be a factor to polynomials?
So it's like
It can't be possibly. I don't know.
it would be 2b squared minus 10b minus 9b. There's a 9. There's a 9.
No. You replace the two numbers.
So it isn't negative 9. Well,
No, it's not. Plus 1b
Okay, never mind.
minus 5. Okay, then how do I factor it from there? Four terms.
Use the little parentheses, right?
Not quite. Not yet.
I like using parentheses.
I guess. It's a lot easier if there wasn't a 2 in front, but there is. What do I do next? Four terms. How do I always factor something with four terms? Grouping. So factor by grouping. What can I take out of the first two?
2
2b.
B
What's left?
B
plus
Minus 5. I took out a 2b. What do I take out of b minus 5? Nothing. But I mean,
1.
what plus 1? Plus 1 is basically taking out nothing. So it stays b minus 5. Your parentheses should be the same. So then my answer will be
You keep the first one, it would be 2b plus 1.
2b plus 1, and the other one would be
B minus 5.
b minus 5. This is how we factor a trinomial with a number in front. This is something that we have done lots of. We should know this. If you're having trouble factoring, this section will be hard for you. That's why we spent that whole unit talking about factoring, and you've reviewed it in almost every math class. So now, I have it factored on the left. If I have it factored on the left, I need to have common denominators before I can cross things off.
Times the b minus 5.
So on the left, what part am I missing? Well, let's write my common denominator. What's my common denominator going to be? b minus 5 and a 2b plus 1. So as I look at the fraction on the left, what part am I missing? On the left.
B minus 5.
On the
Oh,
left.
you're not missing anything.
I'm not missing anything. I have the 2b plus 1, b minus 5, so the top stays the same. I don't multiply by anything. Fraction on the right. B minus 5 and what? Oh yeah, top and bottom by b minus 5. Sorry. The top, if I distribute the top, that will give me,
6b minus 30.
yep. Now you can write the denominators if you want to, but the denominators are going to cancel, so you don't have to worry about writing them. And then you just solve this equation. What do I do first to solve this equation?
Minus 6b.
Okay, you can do that. That's fine. So 9b minus 24 equals negative 30
Plus 24.
plus 24. 9b equals
Negative 6.
divide by. So b equals
Hold on, I got
Negative 6 over 9.
negative 6 over 9, which reduces this to
2 over 3.
2/3. Yep. So if you get a fraction, just reduce the fraction. Okay. So hopefully this helps. It's very similar to what we did last week. We're just adding the equation part to it. Okay. So the rest.